Hello and welcome to Legacy Ed News. I'm Dr. Selma Bartholomew, founder and CEO of Legacy Pathways. You can find us at partnerwithlegacy.com. If you are new to our ed community and new to Legacy Ed News, welcome. And if you are part of our community and have been showing us all of the love and support, let me say thank you and welcome back. Welcome back. I'm excited today. I get this chance to relaunch our Legacy Ed News. I work with schools and educators. We do this triumphant work every single day. And my teachers and my principals and my families, they were saying, Dr. B, when are you going to relaunch Legacy Ed News? And when are you going to redo the Dr. Selma B show? And so I'm always mindful of compassion. And so I'm excited to have this opportunity to relaunch our Legacy Ed News with you today. As you know, the goals of the show is really about life, and I get a chance to address some of the hot topics in education and in life. We want to inspire you, and we want to have this opportunity to have brave conversations. I know people talk about safe spaces, but I want a safe space, and we want to have some brave and courageous conversations with you as part of our Legacy Ed News. And so let's get right into it. I picked a topic today based on a lot of emails and text messages and conversations that I was having with my educators and my principals in particular. And so I wanted to address this as a hot topic as we come back as Legacy Ed News. And so as we get into it, feel free, you get a chance to leave me a comment, send me an email. Excited to hear what you think about what we're going to talk about today. And so my topic for today is In Loco Parentis, In Loco Parentis. Now you might say, well, Dr. B, why is this a hot topic? What is it going on in the news that has really brought this topic that I want to have this discussion with you today? So let me first explain what it is. And I know you probably, of course, you've heard the term, but in loco parentis, it's a Latin term meaning in the place of a parent, instead of a parent. The term is a common law term and denotes the legal responsibility. That's right, the legal responsibility of some person or organization to perform some of the functions and responsibilities of a parent. The typical organization found to be in loco parentis is a school, which is deemed to have some of the responsibilities of a parent over its students. So why is this a hot topic? And what do I want to talk about today in relationship to in loco parentis? And so I'm going to touch on two really sensitive issues in the news. But what I really want to get to is the questions around this brave conversation around the implications for policy, for leadership, for training, and for developing meaningful and better relationships, authentic relationships between our educators, our students, and our families. So there have been two really significant cases in the news that I think really brings to surface this question around what does in loco parentis means in this day and age as leaders, as educators, and as teachers. And what's the shifting and the nature of the relationships that we're seeking to engender with our schools? So the first one was in March, and this is a really sad case and a very tragic case where in March, in Michigan, as we know, there's a young man who tragically killed four of his classmates and his peers in Michigan, and they charged the parents, James and Jennifer Crumley, and they were charged as well as found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And sad case, absolutely right, where parents, it's not just impacting the Michigan community, it touched all of our lives. You send your child to school and you want them to be safe, right? And now this situation happens and they charge the parents. But what does it have to do with in loco parentis? So in this case, which is really interesting, the principal, right? Here's the parent. You call the parents in and you're the leader. You are in loco parentis. You call the parents in and you have this conversation about your child, he or she in crisis. The parents made the decision and said, you know what? I'm not taking my child home. Leave him in school. What do you do? What do you do as a principal? And now, what do you do under this umbrella of in loco parentis? And so in this case, the principal, who's most likely you're trying to, and I don't know the individuals in the case, but I know my leaders and I know my educators, and we care about families, and you're trying to build relationships. You're trying to not, if the relationship was already fractured, you're trying not to break them anymore, right? And so as a principal, you might think, oh, okay, you know what? The parent is here, there was some level of authority, yes, send the child back into the classroom, right? In our schools, there is this culture right now where it's all about data, data, data. Nobody wants their data on suspensions to look high. So they're being told as principals, no, you can't suspend the student, but you haven't been given the resources. And they think not suspending the student, we know why, because we understand Miriam Wright Edelman's work around the school to prison pipeline, correct? But is it fair to you as educators and as families when that school has not been given the resources? So you're told, keep them in the building. Keep them in the building where? Do you have space? What's the training, right? And what's the resources that you need by way of mental health support in your building in order to address it? So in this case, in this Michigan case, the parents said, nope, I'm not taking my child home. You keep him. And this happens every single day in schools where you're the In Loco Parentis, and you're trying to work and build that relationship with parents. So tell me, if you're a principal, if you're an educator, if you're a family member, tell me what you're thinking about this issue and this discussion around this responsibility of schools to now have responsibility as a function and take on certain functions as a parent, which we do every single day. And we do it, and they do it bravely. The next case that I want to address, also a question of In Loco Parentis. This has also happened in March, and this was a hot one for us. They have a principal he was principal of Columbia High School in South Orange, Maplewood, New Jersey. And in March, the principal was arrested and charged for endangering the welfare of a child and for simple assault for an incident that occurred in 2023, in March of 2023. That's what authorities say that is alleged, right? So a year later, this principal is now charged. So this is a complex case because it turns out we don't know the student, and it's not so much about the student. That's not what I'm trying to have a discussion with. But in this case, the communities of color said that this is a community that wasn't treating their students well. And that this incident was reflective of a culture in the district and in the school. And as a result, now the principal, who was In Loco Parentis, who probably thought he had a lot of authority to do what he wanted to do in this case, and he alleged that the young lady, the young student who has brought the charge, said that she was on her way to a fight, and he was trying to prevent her from going into this fight. Now, I'm not touching the details. I'm talking about his or her role as a leader in terms of In Loco Parentis. And so here's a really complex case, right? Are you In Loco Parentis? Well, was he In Loco Parentis in terms of saying, I'm breaking up this fight? And wait a minute, if your child is in that school building, was he keeping them safe? And I know that there's some hidden culture things there, right? So I'm touching things that people don't necessarily want to talk about. And so in our schools and in our classrooms, people talk about the written curriculum, but at Legacy, we talk that a curriculum is much more than the textbook. Yes, it's what's written, but there's also the hidden curriculum. What's the hidden curriculum, then the messages that our students are getting, that our families are getting, and what's the nature of supports that our principals and our educators need? So tell me what you're feeling about this term, In Loco Parentis. It is a hot one for me. I think that these cases are going to have some serious implications for policy as we move forward. And if you're a principal, if you're a teacher, what's happening now? Have you done any training on this? What is it that what's the conversations you're having with parents? What are your parents asking you? And also, we're talking more about dealing with issues with mental illness, but I know for a fact in most of my schools, we don't have mobile crisis units. And so oftentimes when a child is dealing with in crisis, that the only major next step that most educators and most principals have is to call EMT, and they come take that child and bring them to a hospital or to emergency room, right? And so you're always trying to not have to go to that degree. But what happens if you don't? And what are the resources in place? And what do we need to have in place? And so I'm opening up the conversation today around In Loco Parentis for our Legacy Ed News. I want to say thank you for connecting with me. I'm excited to be back. And thank you so much for connecting with us also around our work. I get a chance oftentimes when we do, we have a really powerful model called Legacy Lab, where we teach teachers and we work with kids and really around building relationships. And we do it in the context of the classroom for these reasons. How do you go about building authentic relationships? I want to wish you a great day. I want to wish you a compassionate day. Once again, if you're new to Legacy and Legacy Ed News, welcome. And for those who are part of our community, thank you so much for your ongoing support. And let's continue to have safe and brave conversations as we move forward in this work together.